Hey guys, this is Kyle Niz Smith with episode 2 of NizCast. Today we're going to be talking about hero roles. If you haven't seen my first video on hotkeys, definitely go check it out. There will be a link to it in the description. Anyways, jumping right into it. Every single hero in the game has a role. That role may change depending on what team they're a part of, but every single member of a team will also have that role, or maybe multiple roles. So some heroes are extremely versatile. They can do multiple roles. A good example is Torturer. He can carry, he can push, he can be a pusher, he can be a support, he can be a ganker, he can do a ton of different roles. So there's another example. He can semi-carry, he can gank, he can lane solo, he can lane in a dual lane, he can lane in a tri-lane, or he can even jungle. Very versatile hero. Plague Rider, another example. Solo, dual lane, tri-lane. Can't jungle, but he can also, play that role of support, or, kind of the semi-carry kind of role. Anyways, let's jump into the actual hero roles. I just mentioned pusher. So basically what a pusher is a type of hero that can kill creeps or towers, or maybe both, relatively quickly. So a good example of this, Torturer. He can use his impalement ability to really kill towers really quickly, and he can also kill creep waves quickly. Another example, Keeper of the Forest. Obviously with his new treants, he can push towers really, really quickly. Ophelia with her minions, and of course Warbeast with his wolves, and if he gets Puzzle Box or Whispering Helm and he's building up an army. Moving on to the next one, a ganker. Basically a ganker's job is, well, what the name says. Its job is to gank, and gank some more. Basically these heroes, once they hit about level 6, 7, 8, around that range, they're extremely strong. That doesn't mean they trail off immediately. Generally they trail off around the level 11 mark. But basically they're so strong because they have extremely high burst damage and or disables. So generally you'll see a ganker lane mid or in a solo lane to kind of get that level advantage so that they're a higher level than everyone else in the game. Good examples of these, obviously Fade. Being able to invis, obviously a lot of high burst damage. She's a good example. Pebbles, a lot of people, know how much damage a Pebbles combo can do. Deadwood, another one. It's got burst damage. He does have some disables in the form of snares or slows. And then Succubus. When Succubus is lane mid, she's probably one of the strongest mids in the game, but she also has very, very strong ganking potential. Being with her ultimate, her heartache, her sleep. It's a lot she can do. She's a very strong disabler. Moving on to the next role, hard carry. Basically a hard carry is any hero that starts off weak but scales extremely, extremely well with items. So obviously every hero in the game is going to scale well with items, but not as well as a hard carry. Example of this is something like Chronos, where once he gets more attack speed, he's going to do more damage because of his Curse of Ages, I believe his ability is called. And then Sandwraith, another example. Once he tanks up, his ult gets that much stronger. His Dissipate's going to deal more damage as the illusions are able to tank up more and deal more Dissipate damage. Swiftblade, obviously, has got his passive crit, more damage, higher crits, more attack speed, more crits. Madman, same kind of idea. With the passive crit and just the attack speed and everything. The whole reason it's called a hard carry is because you're a weak hero early on, and the rest of your team's kind of carrying you. And then as the game progresses, when you get to the end, when you transition to that late game, the hard carry's job is to carry the rest of his team at that point. So that's kind of where the name hard carry comes from. There is also something called a semi-carry. This is the next role. Semi-carry has strong laning ability, so they have stronger lane presence than a hard carry. They're generally good at farming early game because of this strong lane presence, and they're able to get some farm. Maybe they're able to kill creep waves really quickly, but they don't scale as well as a hard carry. So generally, what their job is to do is to carry their team during the mid game, because they're going to have that nice farm advantage. They're going to have that really strong presence in the mid game, and they're going to help to carry and fill that role of the hard carry, except they're going to do it in the mid game to try to get that team to the late game so that hard carry can take over. Strong examples of this, Soul Stealer. Soul Stealer could be a hard carry, but he's also really good at semi-carrying. He can farm obviously really well with his hands. Wretched Hag, Once again, AoE abilities, really good at farming. She has that level advantage. These are both mid heroes. Hammerstorm, not as good at farming as the other heroes, but he has very strong lane presence. His ultimate makes him do a lot of damage. So that really helps him in that kind of semi-carry role in that mid-game portion of the game. Pyromancer, obviously he can kill creeps really quickly, get some levels on him, and he does a lot of damage. So he has that semi-carry potential. If he gets blink, if he gets some items built up, he can do a lot of damage and be a big trouble for other teams. And Slither, of course. Slither, he's strong all game long. He obviously trails off a little bit at the late game, but he's strong in the laning phase. He's strong mid game. He's one of those agi heroes that can deal a lot of damage, but doesn't really suffer in the early game. All right, moving on to the next one, I guess. Support. Now, support is basically any hero that's got a really strong utility abilities, and they're typically the kinds of hero that buy wards or counter wards or the courier for the team, or they buy items that are going to help buff their team, say like an Astrolabe or maybe a barrier idol depending on the team. Basically what their job is to help their teammates complete their roles. So basically, if you're running a hard carry and the hard carry needs to be protected because they keep trying to gank it, the support's job is to really protect that hard carry. Now it also works the other way too. If you're in a farming war and your hard carry is getting out farmed by their hard carry, maybe you're going to help the rest of your team try and gank that hard carry on the other team, and try to limit his farm by having a little bit more map presence and being a little bit more aggressive. So the support has to kind of be really versatile, being able to switch from just that, warding, kind of protect the carry role, to doing some more aggressive things. Obviously strong examples of these: Demented Shaman, Andromeda, Glacius, Myrmidon, all heroes that can really function without having farm. So they're perfectly fine with warding and having boots and maybe a bracer, and they can function like that. They're not going to suffer too much because their strength is in their abilities. Their strength isn't in their auto attack damage or anything like that. They're utility heroes. Obviously Andromeda, brings that really strong aura and aurora to the team. So that's obviously another really good utility kind of ability. Moving on to the next one. A lot of people call a hero a tank. Now, I don't really like the term, but I'm going to explain it a little bit more. I like to call it initiator. And this is what most people refer to as initiator. Basically, initiator, their job is to initiate a team fight. They generally get a portal key, they blink in, and they use a big AoE ability, and that starts the team fight. Pretty much the best example of this is Behemoth. Behemoth, when he blinks in, he's going to deal a ton of damage with his ultimate, right? He's going to blink in, deal a ton of damage with his ultimate. That's great. Tempest, same kind of idea. Blink in, get a good ult off, really good way to start a team fight. Now, there is a better way to get a Tempest ult off, is if the fight already starts and the Tempest jumps in later. People are going to have, or the enemy is going to have a greater tendency to kind of group up at that point. This is where a tank role kind of comes in. Say you have Electrician on your team, which is a really tanky hero, if he's built properly. You're pushing a tower. Now the Electrician can start running up to the tower, assuming the tower's attacking creeps, and going towards the other team. Now the other team has to decide, do we engage on that Electrician, use some of our abilities, put abilities on cooldown to stop that Electrician from charging into us, or do we back up and concede the tower? You can see how the Electrician in this role is basically trying to force the team fight. And if the enemy team does engage on that Electrician, that Electrician's got more health, he's able to take a lot more damage than his teammates. So it's going to cost the enemy team a lot more abilities and put a lot more abilities on cooldown to kind of, kill him or disable him. So you can see how forcing a team fight in that kind of tank role can also be really important in initiating. Moving on to the next one, there's a role called a roamer, which is basically a ganker, except he does it from level 1. He doesn't lane. And the whole role of a roamer, is to basically not be on the map and just scare the living crap out of the other team. If you don't know where someone is on the other team and they're constantly roaming all over the map, they could jump out on you at any moment. It's really scary playing against a really good roamer. I love roaming. It's a ton of fun. It does put you back behind in the game if you don't know what you're doing. But good examples of these: Andromeda, really good, being able to kind of jump out of the forest, just throw a comet and stun the enemy. Other examples: Behemoth, of course, coming out with a fissure. Hammerstorm, same thing. He can run out, he can galvanize to increase his move speed and throw a hammer. Roaming is really fun. I'll probably do an episode on that as well a little later on. And then anti-carry. And anti-carry's job, their whole job is to eliminate an enemy from the team fight. So pretty much the best example of this is Rampage. With his ultimate, he can drag someone and pull them out of the fight, just eliminate them from the fight. He can kind of charge in and then do that or whatever. If there's an enemy on the other team who has a lot of damage, say it's early game, Plague Rider ult is huge. He can go in, he can grab that Plague, just pull him off to the side, let the main team fight happen, and then they deal with Plague Rider. You can see how this can be very beneficial. And also, late game, say you've got a really hard carry on the other team, like Chronos or whatever, Rampage can then ult that Chronos through Shrunken Head because it's physical, and disable him that way. So you can see how the anti-carry role is just to basically stop anyone on the team at that point in the game that's going to carry and really help that other team. Now I want to talk a little bit about standard compositions. Generally, a team composed in pubs is composed of 1 hard carry, 2 semi-carries, gankers or pushers, that kind of thing, and then 2 supports. Now, these are main roles, and you have to understand that you're still going to need someone on the team who can initiate, so you have to work initiator into one of those roles as well, or you're going to have to pick a hero that can fit multiple roles. Very versatile heroes like Plague, Slither, Hammer, like I said before, are really beneficial. Now, say you were going for a more aggressive composition. You weren't going with a hard carry, you're going with 1 or 2 semi-carries, you're going with 2 or 3 gankers or pushers, and then 1 support. Here's a lineup that, maybe a jungler would be a good idea, because a jungler is going to give your team a level advantage because you got someone in the jungle, an extra solo lane, you're going to get more experience. That level advantage is going to help a team like this, which is composed mainly of gankers and early or mid-game heroes. Now, if we were to make a team like this, just throwing together a team, let's say we put Defiler mid. Defiler is very good solo mid. She can semi-carry really well. She's also a pusher with her ultimate. Then we'll put Tempest in the jungle. Tempest, once again, a lot of strength in his ultimate and good pushing potential with his minions. Then who we're going to have solo top? We can put Poliwag solo top. He's got his wards that help push. He's got strong disables. He's got morph and he's got hold, and he can solo perfectly well. And then in the lane, we could put Hammer and Pyro, a Hammer Pyro lane. So you've got Hammer who can kind of semi-carry. He's got a strong disable there. He's going to semi-carry in the mid-game with his ultimate. That's great. You've got Pyro with stun, a lot of burst damage, able to kill creeps really quickly. You can see how this team kind of works together. Now, there's a ton of different team compositions, but this is one that could work. Anyways, I'm going to talk probably more about picking in another episode. This is it for this hero role episode. My next episode should be on items. And once again, thanks for watching. This is NizCast. Bye.